And this thing here is just interesting because that line, where did we get to that line? Where, when we entered
That's
this?
because those three sequences, because there's three pieces of equipment, and she made that description.
I know because it said description
Ditto, ditto,
was required,
ditto.
but we didn't know that it went to the scope detail that could be
Right.
going. That's what I'm trying
And
to learn.
given generic information.
But at the same time, on the thing, this stuff could also print on something to the work order with actually all of this stuff, and so you can get more into
So
information.
she
But
could
it
have
depends
made
what
her
goes back.
sequences unique to each piece of equipment.
But
Yeah.
this is, I imagine, is going to be somewhat going out to the tech when it goes out.
Yeah.
And scope detail.
But
would-
that being said, trial and error,
Yeah.
then you could go back and say, okay, now I want to call this, boiler one,
so then
roof
they
unit
would know these are the
two,
equipment.
whatever.
Let's take it to
Yeah.
the next level. So right here, please, let's go to view. Actually, options, sorry, left here. Reports. Let's do a work order
I
report.
saw it, so
Yeah.
the options report.
And we can put a button to make it
Here?
easier, but yeah. So here's a standard report. And work order 1, and let's go ahead,
So
serviceable item, hit preview.
line from this. So if, sent Kayla an email
Well, like I
and
said,
just
and this
asked
is a
about that
specific
SAS
thing.
job. Because
There's
that was going
some
well
stuff in
before
there.
Mackenzie started even
There's
filling
a
in.
purchase order.
And
What did she
everything
put
was dumped
test
through
there? What
May
was
of
that?
last year. It's
Oh,
saying
those are those tasks.
Slated
Remember those
to
certain tasks where
complete
you were saying you were
July
going to look
this
and
year.
say, my
It
tasks
sounds like
are
that's one of the ones
replace
that's
something
being turned over
on.
to
Yeah,
Nancy
so you
Shaw.
could say major,
that.
minor.
But my
Targets
little
anywhere.
task thing, we just created one called test,
So
just to show you what it was. But they didn't really, they weren't specific to some sort of duty or task like.
So I'm
you
like,
have.
Yeah, but
okay,
we
well,
have
I don't think
services that are called
Mackenzie has anything to
major,
do with anything
minor,
that's been
minor,
done, because
operating
Mackenzie
annual.
didn't
I would say I'm
start
doing an
helping
RT1,
till,
I'm doing a major, I'm doing
the
an RT2,
fall
I'm
of
doing a major.
Yeah, so
2017.
it would say that, and then
Kayla
it would be
switched
a
over to
piece
the
of
payroll.
equipment.
Well, I know, and then the task description, so this could
So
say
I've emailed
NJ,
Kayla and
major,
asked, can she
you
shed
go
light on
major
any of
inspection,
the SAS
maybe
stuff?
minor,
Does she
minor
have a
inspection,
list
you know,
or
MI.
directions
So right
around
now,
Lisa
let me
Horn,
show you
maybe
this
on
real
an
quick.
email that's
Yeah.
not saved?
This is my, let me show you something,
Or
Ron,
some
because this
directions,
is
or-
how,
Is she the one that dumped the stuff through May and then there's just been no correspondence or no? It's in limbo?
Come on over here a second, let me
So
show
we
you.
hear
Sure.
otherwise, or? So just gonna see what she has to say. I don't think Mackenzie had anything to do with that
yeah,
one,
it logged me out.
based on what I can see.
Right.
And I have, Scott ported her email stuff over to mine, and that there's no correspondence at all between Mackenzie and Lisa at all on any SAS code or, and there's a few on, there's some questions on Bayview on people and rates and stuff like that, but just, just pretty generic stuff.
Yeah, it looks like it is substantiated though.
Yeah, and it looks like, completion date, doesn't look like they're doing anything monthly.
Okay,
No.
so I had,
It
We
is,
haven't.
it is.
this is
yeah,
that work.
It is.
This
So I mean,
is,
if it
I
is,
mean,
so Juanita could start going back and creating monthly packets for that job, but there's no direct.
Okay, so this is what we
Unless she
actually
has sent something to Kayla and that it's.
do our
on
estimate in
email or
and our
say
estimate
somewhere
and everything
else.
else, and I'll show you how it becomes
You know
a
what I mean?
deliverable, but we
Or
enter
is
the
she
customer
gonna
information,
be like,
First
I don't know
Western,
what
this is
those
that
are.
deal, this is something we built in
I mean,
Excel.
I don't,
Then it's just a cover
She
page
must have put them together
because
for
we make
you.
this estimate become our deliverable. So, and then the standard letters is this,
right,
and then
'cause all the
we
labor
create a
rates are in
scope,
there,
here's
and
what
it's
we're gonna
just
do in
in
the air
SharePoint, just a
handlers,
blank
that,
template,
this
and
might be
blank
what we want as a
notes,
list
just
on a
like
package unit like these, this is
Jared
what we're gonna
type
do.
way.
Then we enter this equipment
So,
list,
just trying to understand.
what we did, and the
what-
filters of it, so
from
if
that
you look over here,
Project support
it's RTU
side.
wants carrier model, serial number, this is what we show them.
If they
And
fill
then
those out.
we
I
create a
would think they
PM
would be
schedule that says
saved.
major, minor, whatever, things like that, so that's what I'm saying,
All that
that's
is
in the
coming.
major, minor, that's why it was less here. And this switches
Right,
over
yeah.
to where we, our
Yeah.
labor hours,
Exactly.
and when we estimate this, was doing a major for 3/4 and a minor for that, and that's how that labor ended up coming out to be what it is. So then that's just estimate parameters, that's with filters, the cost sheet. Then this rolls up at what level of maintenance, because when we did our labor hours, journeyman, a plumber, apprentice, whatever else, we put those tasks into what the level needs to do. and it comes back in here and it gives us that whole thing. And we give a startup to our operations group that says, here's the customer, here's the cost information, here's the billing schedule. There's the labor hours by the level of a journeyman or apprentice on each one of those. So that's kind of what we're turning into that whole thing right there. So when I see, tasks of major, minor, annual, and operating, that could be a description, but then I want to have, this is what the other person that from Fitzgerald just, let me see if I can get a place where I hate this, just puts it in here where you can't see it, but see, they created these package units where this is their report for a package rooftop unit, and here they put that task, and then this became a report that pulled up for that, and they could enter the checks and the details of what they did. And so their vendor said that they created these task lists so that it could become on their device an actual thing where to enter them. So I don't know. That's where I'm trying to get to, so that they're going to have a tablet and they go to this thing and they can go RTU1 and they could do this and boom, and that document would go back.
The challenge I see is making sure that all of these task lists here.
Oh, can we preview the ticket then? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, the tickets are different than the work orders, so the work order is more down a bunch of stuff. This would be, if your work order, so if you're working on a T&M, I actually worked 2 hours and I pulled these materials off the truck or something like that.
So it's like the service ticket.
Yeah, so that's kind of what they do in there. So that's the work order trip ticket for the trip.
Does that go to the client, or is that it could be a deliverable to the client?
Usually goes to the technician. And
Okay,
usually,
this is the work order.
yeah, here's what work order. It's got all the information with the purchase.
But imagine it says the serviceable task item, it's a major, a minor, an annual, and that's what the description is, and that tells that tech. And there could be 50 here, right?
Right. But the key to that is whenever I create a certain task, and we just used one as a standard thing, your goal is that task is going to create this. Because each work order, not that you can't go in and modify it a little bit, whatever makes it most thing. Each work order by each serviceable unit here. So in this situation, 1 and 2 are each using 4 of those filters, and then RTU3 is using 1 and 1 of this other side.
Right, that's just a
So
right?
this task, the benefit, it drives this. Since labor, like I said, if the task could do labor, then, because most of the time, and correct me if I'm wrong, the 2 major things you're tracking on every work order is what material and what labor, right?
Yep.
And every once in a while, you'll have equipment, and every once in a while, a standard item to pull it up.
Right, yeah.
But most of the time, it's pretty kind of materials and labor.
Yep.
I send guys out, and they got the right part, and they know how to fix it, and they
Yep.
knock it out.
Right.
Now, in this situation, that task to be fully functional has to have all of this information. So it has to know for that material that it's exactly that filter and exactly that quantity of stuff,
And we have that.
Yeah, so that's the key deliverable. And also labor, we didn't do it, but also if we could do it here, then this would be per work order, because the total is somewhere else. But each time I go out there and service that on a work order, it's going to take me this much estimated labor and
I'm still in the work order,
These-
right?
parts.
So
Yeah,
go to notes. No, it's down in the work order, right?
okay.
And how come that copy and paste thing that she put in there when it generated, how come those notes didn't go in there?
Well, it's over here on the agreement. So the notes are
The notes
actually,
should carry through, shouldn't they?
well, notes just don't go from table to table, The notes, where did we put those on the service? Where did those notes
The
go?
notes were on the agreement, are we? They had the stick pin there. Where was that?
Which table did we put
Right
those
here.
notes on? Was it the service? Or go to grid info? Obviously, if they were here, I would see.
Because
Oh, wait a minute, sorry. So grid. Oh, let's refresh.
There it is.
Sorry, I had an old version of that open. So what happened is I had a separate agreement open and I hadn't refreshed it since the last time. So all those attachments that you attached weren't there. And all of this stuff wasn't there, but now it is.
Okay, so those notes won't go to the work order from the,
No, these notes, and that's why I said, where do these notes need to live? In Vista, it's data, and notes are pretty much all over the system. We attach those notes to the SM agreement. Now, I can pull that information on a report, but it doesn't copy data from one table to the other table and put, because these notes are resident to this one place on the SM agreement, because there's SM customer notes, SM service site notes, there's notes all over, there's work order notes. So to answer your question, no, it doesn't just copy this data to many places in the database, but any report that has this, it can grab this information off of it and pop it on that.
because I think the way we put the notes at the site level, and then any work order that generates, those notes go in the work orders. Because a lot of those notes, sometimes the notes are where you can park, what the lockbox is.
So what I recommend is, notice what I've just done here. I just made a copy of those, and then I'm gonna go over that service site 10331. So I'm gonna go to the service site 10331. Now notice over in the notes, now I'm in the service site notes. So I think what makes sense from what you said, put them here. Then I can grab them on the work order. I can grab them everywhere I need. Now the notes right here, they're not sitting on the SM agreement. They're sitting on the service site notes.
So now, can you make the notes show up on every work order generated in the system? So when they created a PM agreement, they would have to create the notes at the PM agreement, but then also attach them to the site. And then we can have a rule that it
Wouldn't have to attach them to the
copy them
agreement.
to the site.
It makes sense just to put them here. And that would be the place they'd be resident to, because
But they'd also be on the agreement if you were in the agreement. Otherwise, you wouldn't see it when you're in the agreement. I think you need them in both places.
okay.
The dispatcher needs to be able to, if the note said, you can only park by the back dumpster, you can only do this, here's the lockbox combo, the ladder
Sure.
here. We want those to show in every work order, because it doesn't matter who goes, whether it's a PM work order or a demand work order,
Yeah,
we want
that
that
makes
to
sense.
show.
Okay.
So that would just be a work process. When you create the contract,
Sure.
you're gonna create those notes there and then put them at the site level.
Right there.
Because maybe we've been doing demand service there for 5 years and don't have an agreement. We have the parking information.
Gotcha.
Now we add the other details so that it shows up.
Yeah, that makes sense. So right now, those notes are in both places because that little stick pin. So then same notes that are here, those same notes are sitting over in.
So do you have to manually enter the description on your attachment details, description over there, see on the right? Here,
What happens is when you do attach and you want to show your attachments, there's a couple things, and I'm going to kind of go through this with Will so he's happy with how it's going to work. A description and a type are optional. Otherwise, it will just use the file name that's going on here. So the reason you could have a further description, you could call it contract or call it
executed contract,
versus
estimate, renewal, whatever it is, so you know what that document is.
So if you took the time to do that, you could do. Otherwise, when you drag and drop, you just have to open them up and see what's going on.
But could you not manually just enter in the description right there? That one's this or that.
Right here.
Can I?
Yes, you'd go into edit the attachment.
And description,
So right
right
there.
there, executed
Yeah.
agreement. You
Yeah.
type that.
So in this situation, we could, yep,
Executed agreement.
and hit OK.
And what's the attachment type? What's the?
Hit F4. Now this, it would be, we don't hit up the setup thing. You don't have to use this, but basically how long at some point in time, Will would want to make, if you pull that little list down, we can have all these different attachment types and service could have them. How long would you like to keep this information in the system? If you say, I want to keep it till the end of time, then we wouldn't need attachment types. If certain types of attachments you'd want to delete after 5 years or something, we would want to group those attachment types. You say, hey, let's get rid of our estimates after 5 years. But it's a method of managing your attachments. So in this situation, that would be your estimate, and say, okay. And so now
It
it
just says, so now
knows.
this one, I don't know, I can open the attachment, and I think this was the, this is the renewal.
That's the renewal,
Let's see. So this was see what we do is we
contract
do a
renewal.
renewal, how did it do the current year, and then what we're gonna do for it before.
Gotcha.
Okay, so this is the 2018 renewal, so I'm gonna go and edit this. And I'm gonna call this,
When we just dragged and dropped, it didn't put a description because it was just these, but you easily
Right.
could come in here and then describe those as renewals.
and then this was,
The last one, he says, let me open that thing.
I know what it is.
Gotcha.
So it's the 2017 budget.
Gotcha.
So then now I don't have to pull those out. I could actually see exactly what those were if we did that. So
Yeah, that kind of back up to the data. It's normally what this is used for.
right. Well, and that's good because then we don't have to have. I mean, this is great because you can go into the contract and go see exactly. So I know when I open this up. So when I showed you in there, this is the deliverable. Let me shrink this down just a little bit.
I would think this would help you finish the setup of your agreement.
So this is what that deliverable, I just showed you what it showed. Hey, there's my 3 pieces of equipment. Here's the schedule that I have on them.
Yeah.
There's the actual agreement. See, this is $300, 201, 301, 201. And this doesn't have the budget information in it like that, but
the other
this
attachment does.
attachment had
Yeah.
the Excel part that had all of those in here that now actually shows,
Yeah.
this is the whole actual estimate in here that shows this is what it sold for originally, here's what the budget was, here's all the costs in here, and how we got to there and everything.
See, sure. So yeah, that makes sense. You could certainly attach that, and while she's setting up the new agreements, she's
But
got
I
the
just, so if this
documentation
is on the site,
Yes.
when we generate a new